Anne's dagboek is in meer dan 65
Anna's diary
talen
has been
vertaald.
translated into
En
more than
miljoenen mensen
65
over de hele
languages
wereld
and
hebben
millions
het
of
gelezen.
people all over the world have read it. 110,000 of the 140,000 Jewish citizens in the Netherlands did not survive the war. Anne Frank was among them. She died in the concentration camp at Bergen-Belsen in Germany.
Nederland werd in 1945
Holland was liberated in 1945. The house where Anne Frank and her family hid is now a museum.
Een van de Nederlandse politici die zich verzetten tegen de Duitse
One of the Dutch politicians who resisted German oppression was Willem Drees.
Hij was daarin zo
He
dapper
demonstrated
en slim
such
dat hij
skill
na de
and
oorlog door de
courage
koningin
that when the
gevraagd
war
werd
was
om een nieuwe
over,
regering
the
te
Queen
vormen.
asked him to
Drees
form a
werd de
new
man die
government.
ervoor moest zorgen dat
Drees
Nederland
was
na de
entrusted
oorlog
with
weer
the
werd
task of
opgebouwd.
rebuilding the
Amerika
Netherlands
heeft
after the
daarbij
war.
geholpen door
The
veel
United
geld te
States assisted by donating a large sum of money.
Willem Drees,
Willem Drees, or Daddy Drees, as he was called by many, laid down the foundations of the so-called welfare state. He also introduced a law giving all old people the right to a pension, the AOW. During his time in government, the Dutch colony, the East Indies, became independent, changing the name to Indonesia.
Afstand doen daarvan door het Koninkrijk der Nederlanden en het aangaan van een unie is een van de meest aangrijpende en ingrijpende gebeurtenissen van deze tijd.
Those who had been on the side of the Dutch during the colonial regime came here to Holland, like the inhabitants of the Dutch East Indies. The Moluccans had fought on the side of the Dutch and didn't see a future for themselves in Indonesia. Hoping to return someday to their own republic, they too came to our country and stayed. The Dutch worked together on the post-war reconstruction. Prosperity grew and people wanted more freedom to choose their own lifestyles. This new freedom was made possible when Holland became a welfare state. Social laws ensured that people who were unemployed or too ill to work still had an income. The younger generation after the Second World War found their parents' and the church's beliefs less and less important. Increasing numbers of young people started living more liberated lives. This was evident in the relaxed interaction between men and women, known as the sexual revolution. During the 60s, the economy altered. A lot of agriculture disappeared. And the old industries of shipbuilding and textiles were in decline due to foreign companies being able to produce more cheaply. Holland had to switch to a new economy, based less on manual labor and with a greater emphasis on modern technology and the service sector. During the 60s and 70s, there was lots of relatively simple work available. Companies went abroad to look for labor. So during the 60s, guest workers from countries like Spain, Portugal, Italy, and later people from Turkey and Morocco came to Holland. Many of these workers decided to stay in Holland and brought their families over to join them. In 1975, Suriname, another Dutch colony, became independent. Many Surinamese people came to Holland because they no longer trusted the future in their own country. They came here to work or to study. Many people from Aruba and the Antilles also came to Holland. These people have the Dutch nationality, as the Dutch Antilles and Aruba are a part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. The Netherlands began to cooperate more with other European countries. A new currency came into being too, the euro. This can be used as payment in a number of European Union countries. Today, the Netherlands has 16 million inhabitants. A major proportion of these have their origins abroad. The most famous of these is Princess Maxima. She came from Argentina and in 2002 married the Dutch Crown Prince Willem-Alexander. But protests against the number of foreigners coming to settle in Holland began to grow. Relations between the various communities became more strained. Terrorist attacks on New York, Washington, and Madrid caused tensions in both society and in politics. The Netherlands is developing still into a prosperous small country within a constantly growing European Union.
Nederland is een klein en overzichtelijk land.
The Netherlands is a small, well-organized country. It's also a democratic country, which means that all the inhabitants of Holland have a say in who governs the country. But how do you govern this country with 16 million inhabitants? Here, at the Binnenhof in The Hague, is the heart of Dutch democracy. Within these buildings is the seat of the government and parliament. The Dutch state is divided into three powers of government. There's the legislative power, that's the government and parliament. Together they make the laws. Then there's the executive power. The government is responsible for carrying out the law and parliament supervises this. The third is the judicial power. This is carried out by independent magistrates or judges who decide on how laws should be implemented. The Dutch Constitution is the foundation of Dutch society. The rights enjoyed by the Dutch are laid down in the Constitution. It also states that we have either a king or queen as head of state.
Leven de koningin! Hoera!
The Queen signs her name to all the laws and royal decrees, but she is not accountable for the government's decisions. The ministers and state secretaries are. Together they form the cabinet, and the minister-president is the chairman. The ministers are responsible for government policy. They often come from different political parties. This is an important characteristic of Dutch politics. Various parties work together in one government. These parties think differently about all sorts of matters, but they manage to work together because they respect each other's opinions.
An important moment, the three parties have agreed. We've got to make something of this, a cabinet with panache. It's based on real equality, not just sitting together.
The government is under Parliament's supervision.
Het parlement bestaat uit de Eerste en de Tweede Kamer.
Parliament consists of the first and second chambers. In the second chamber, there are 150 people's representatives. Every 4 years, they are voted in directly by all Dutch people of 18 years and older. Many different political parties, small and large, are represented in the second chamber or Tweede Kamer. There are 3 major political parties. There's the Liberal Party, which stands for personal and economic freedom.